The encounter the night was cold and silent, broken only by the distant sound of machines moving across the ruined land. Daniel walked slowly, his boots pressing into the ash that covered the ground. He was tired, hungry, and unsure if he would survive another day. Yet something inside him kept moving, the same voice that told him not to give up. The war between humans and aliens had destroyed many places. Cities that once held life and light now stood as broken skeletons of stone and steel. Daniel had been searching for supplies when he noticed something unusual among the ruins. At first, he thought it was just another fallen body, one of many left behind after the battle. But as he moved closer, he realized the figure was still breathing. It was an alien, a female. Her skin was pale silver with strange glowing lines that pulsed faintly. Her clothes were torn and burned, and her body was covered in wounds. Daniel froze. His first thought was to walk away. Humans were told never to trust aliens. They were the enemy, the reason for so much death and pain. But as he looked down at her face, he saw fear mixed with exhaustion, and something else he could not understand. He knelt beside her carefully, keeping his rifle close just in case. Her breathing was shallow, every breath sounding like it might be her last. Daniel whispered to himself, "She's dying." He knew he should leave her. It was the safe choice, yet his hands would not move. Something inside him refused to abandon her. The alien opened her eyes weakly. They were bright, golden like burning suns. She tried to speak, but no words came. Daniel placed a finger to his lips. "Don't try," he said softly. He tore a piece of cloth from his jacket and pressed it against one of her bleeding wounds. She flinched, then relaxed, her eyes never leaving his. The minutes passed slowly. Daniel kept working, using whatever he had to stop her bleeding. He had no medical training, only basic survival skills. Still, he refused to let her die. Every time her breath grew weaker, he shook her shoulder gently, forcing her to stay awake. The wind howled across the broken land. Somewhere far away, a machine growled as it searched the ruins. Daniel knew he had little time. If alien patrols found him helping one of their kind, he would be executed as a traitor. If humans found him with her, they would call him a fool and maybe kill her themselves. But he did not care. He could not explain why. But he had to save her. Finally, he lifted her in his arms. She was heavier than she looked, but he carried her with slow, careful steps. Every shadow seemed like danger. Every noise felt like a threat. Still, he moved forward, step by step. Her head rested weakly against his shoulder, and though she said nothing, he felt her breathing slowly grow steadier. He found an old building, half destroyed but strong enough to give shelter. Inside, the smell of dust and metal filled the air. Daniel laid her down on a broken bed frame. He searched through his bag and shared his last piece of water with her. She drank only a little before closing her eyes again. He sat beside her, watching, protecting. Hours passed. The alien slept, her strange glowing lines pulsing softly in the dark. Daniel could not stop staring at them. They looked like patterns, almost like symbols written into her skin. He wondered what they meant. He wondered who she really was. He thought about leaving again, about saving himself. But every time he looked at her face, he felt the same voice inside whisper, "Don't. Let go." He leaned against the cold wall, exhaustion pulling at his body. Before sleep took him, he whispered again, "You're safe now." The ruins outside remained silent. But somewhere in the darkness, forces were already moving. Enemies searching for the one who had escaped their grasp. Daniel had no idea that the fragile alien he had saved was not just another survivor. She was far more than that. She carried with her a secret that could change everything. And as Daniel closed his eyes for the first time in days, he had no idea that his life, and the fate of many others, was about to change forever. The hidden strength. The first light of dawn touched the ruins, turning the ash and broken metal into a pale gray sea. Daniel woke with a start, his body stiff from the hard floor. He reached for his rifle, his soldier's instinct always sharp. But the alien was still there, lying weakly on the broken bed frame. Her breathing had steadied through the night. For a moment, Daniel simply watched her. The glowing lines across her silver skin pulsed softly, almost in rhythm with her breath. They were strange and beautiful, unlike anything he had seen before. He wondered again who she was, and why she had been left to die. The alien stirred, her golden eyes opening slowly. She looked at him with quiet caution. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Daniel poured the last of his water into a small cap and held it near her mouth. She drank carefully, never taking her eyes off him. "You're stronger than you look," Daniel whispered. He wasn't sure why he spoke to her. She could not understand his words, or so he thought. Still, it made him feel less alone. Outside, the ruins echoed with distant metallic thuds, patrol machines sweeping through the area. Daniel knew they had to move soon. He couldn't stay in one place for long. The machines always came. He looked back at the alien. Her wounds were closing faster than they should. The glowing patterns on her skin seemed to be stitching the damage together. Daniel had seen many aliens in battle, but none like this. It made his heart beat faster. Was she dangerous, or was she something else? "Why am I doing this?" Daniel muttered to himself. He had fought against aliens for years, lost friends and family to their attacks. Yet here he was, giving everything he had left to keep one alive. The alien shifted, her hand moving weakly. Toward her chest, Daniel noticed a small emblem hidden beneath her torn clothing. It was shaped like a star crossed by blades, unlike any symbol he had seen before. She quickly pulled the fabric back over it, her eyes locking with his as if warning him not to ask. Daniel did not push. Instead, he said, "I'll get food." He pointed to himself, then toward the door. She blinked once slowly, as if she understood. He moved carefully through the ruins, searching for anything useful. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. Survival meant focus. He found a broken supply crate, half buried under debris. Inside were a few dried rations, probably abandoned months ago. They were stale but still edible. When he returned, the alien was no longer lying weak. She was sitting upright, her glowing lines brighter than before. Daniel froze, rifle raised. Out of instinct, for a second he thought she might attack, but she only stared at him, silent and calm. He lowered the rifle slowly. "You're healing fast," he said. She tilted her head, her golden eyes reflecting the dim light. He placed the food in front of her, breaking the piece for himself first. She watched him chew, then carefully mimicked his actions. The quiet between them was heavy, full of unspoken thoughts. Daniel felt it like a weight pressing on his chest. Who was she? Why did she survive when so many others had fallen? And why, despite everything, did he feel like protecting her? As the day stretched on, Daniel noticed small things. The way her eyes scanned the room, sharp and alert. The way her hand twitched toward her side when she heard distant sounds. She was no ordinary alien. He could feel it. When night returned, danger came with it. A low rumble shook the ruins, followed by metallic screeches. Patrol machines were close. Their red searchlights swept across the broken city. Daniel cursed under his breath. He grabbed his rifle, ready to move the alien again. But before he could, she stood, her body still weak but her glowing pattern suddenly flaring with energy. Her golden eyes burned brighter than fire. Daniel froze. His breath caught in his throat. The alien raised her hand, and a wave of light shimmered across the walls. The sound outside shifted, as if the machines were being pushed away. Daniel couldn't believe what he saw. This was not weakness, this was power. She looked back at him, her expression unreadable. In that moment, Daniel realized something. He had not saved a victim. He had saved someone far more dangerous, far more important. But he did not know how much his choice would change his life. The secret revealed. The ruins were quiet again, but Daniel could not sleep. He sat near the door of the broken shelter, his rifle resting across his lap. His eyes kept drifting toward the alien. She was no longer the weak figure he had carried. Her wounds had healed faster than anything he had ever seen. The glowing lines across her body pulsed like fire beneath her skin. She sat in silence, her golden eyes watching the darkness. There was a sharpness in them now, a hidden weight. Daniel felt it but said nothing. He only tightened his grip on his weapon. A part of him wanted to run, another part refused. The night stretched on. A strange wind swept through the ruins, carrying the sound of heavy footsteps. Daniel stiffened. He knew the sound. It was not human, machines, or worse, hunters. They were searching, closing in. The alien turned her head slowly. Her eyes narrowed. She raised her hand, and Daniel saw a faint glow shimmer around her fingers. It was as if light itself bent to her will. He shivered. This was no ordinary soldier. "Stay quiet," Daniel whispered. He pointed to the floor, trying to tell her not to move. She stared at him for a long moment, then lowered her hand. But the glow beneath her skin never faded. The footsteps grew louder. Red lights pierced the cracks in the walls. A mechanical voice echoed, cold and merciless. "Target detected. Sweep the area." Daniel's heart pounded. He pressed his back to the wall, finger tight on the trigger. The alien tilted her head, her eyes glowing brighter, and then the wall exploded. A hunter stepped inside, taller than any man, its body covered in dark armor. Its blade arm gleamed under the moonlight. Daniel fired instantly. His bullets sparked against the creature's shield, doing nothing. The hunter turned its burning eyes toward him. Daniel braced for death. But before the blade could strike, the alien moved. In one breath she was on her feet. In the next, light erupted from her hands. The blast tore through the hunter's armor, sending it crashing into the far wall. Sparks flew, metal screeched. The hunter twitched once, then fell silent. Daniel froze. His rifle lowered slowly, his mouth dry. He could not believe what he had just seen. The alien stood tall, her golden eyes blazing. Her glowing lines burned like fire across her body. She was no fragile survivor. She was a warrior. More hunters rushed into the ruins, their weapons raised. Daniel lifted his rifle again, knowing it was useless. But the alien did not hesitate. She leapt forward with speed beyond human sight. Her hands became weapons of light. Every strike shattered metal. Every movement flowed like a dance of war. Daniel could only watch. The air shook with the sound of battle. Sparks and light filled the room. One by one, the hunters fell, broken and silent. In less than a minute, the ruins were quiet again. The alien stood in the center, her chest rising and falling. Her golden eyes burned fiercely. The glow across her body slowly dimmed. She turned toward Daniel, and for the first time, she spoke. Her voice was soft but strong, like steel wrapped in silk. "You should not have saved me." Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. He struggled to find words. Finally he whispered, Who are you?" The alien looked down for a moment, then back at him, her expression unreadable. She stepped closer, every movement sharp with control. "My name is Serenia," she said. The name carried weight. It felt ancient, powerful. Daniel had heard whispers of it before, in old soldier stories. Tales of a warrior who had stood against entire armies. A legend who was said to be unstoppable, a myth. But she was no myth. She stood before him, alive and real. Daniel felt the world tilt around him. He had not just saved a stranger. He had pulled a legend back from death. A legend who now stared at him with eyes that saw deeper than flesh. "You are human," Serenia said. "Your kind should hate me, yet you carried me. Why?" Daniel swallowed hard. "Because you were dying." His words were simple, but they carried the truth. He had acted without reason, without plan, only because it felt right. For the first time, Serenia's eyes softened. Just a fraction then. She looked past him, toward the darkness beyond the ruins. Her voice dropped lower, heavy with warning. "They will come again," she said. "Not machines, not hunters, armies." Daniel felt a chill run through him. He gripped his rifle tighter. But it suddenly felt small, useless. He looked at her again. "And you?" He asked quietly, "What are you going to do?" Serenia raised her chin. Her golden eyes glowed with fire. Her voice was steady, filled with strength. "I will fight," she said, "because that is what I was born for." Daniel stared at her, his breath caught in that moment. He realized his life had changed forever. He had not just saved someone. He had stepped into a storm greater than anything he had known. And the storm was only beginning. Asterisk the legendary warrior. The ruins smelled of smoke and burned metal, broken. Pieces of the hunters lay scattered across the ground, sparks flickering from their shattered cores. Daniel sat against the wall, his chest still heaving. His rifle rested on his knees, but he knew it had been useless. The real battle had been fought by her. Serenia stood in the middle of the broken shelter. Her glowing lines had dimmed but not disappeared. Her golden eyes scanned the darkness with calm control. Every movement of hers carried a strange weight, like a soldier who had lived 1,000 wars. Daniel could not look away. His mind was filled with questions. But one thought repeated over and over: she is no ordinary alien. Finally she turned. To him, her voice low but steady. "You know my name now," she said. Daniel nodded slowly. The word Serenia still echoed inside him. He remembered the rumors. The whispers soldiers traded around campfires. Stories of an alien warrior who fought like an army alone. Some said she had been alive for centuries. Some said she had never been defeated. All had believed she was dead. "You're real," Daniel whispered. His throat was dry. "I thought you were just a story." Serenia tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Legends are only stories," she said, "until blood makes them truth." Her words struck him like a hammer. He stared at her, trying to understand. She carried herself with strength. But beneath that strength was something deeper. A silence. A burden too heavy for most to imagine. "Why were you out here alone?" Daniel finally asked. "How did you fall?" For a moment, she said nothing. The faint hum of her glowing skin filled the silence. Then she spoke, her voice colder. "Betrayal." Daniel frowned. "Your own people?" Her golden eyes hardened. "Not all," she answered. "But enough." She looked away, staring at the broken sky through the shattered roof. "My enemies feared me, but those closest to me feared even more." Daniel felt a chill. He had seen betrayal in his own war, soldiers abandoning each other, leaders sacrificing lives for power. But to betray someone like her, it meant fear greater than loyalty. "You should have let me die," Serenia said suddenly, her voice sharp, like a blade. "By saving me, you have painted yourself with my shadow. My enemies will hunt me, and they will hunt you." Daniel clenched his fists, his tired eyes met hers. "Then let them come," he said. The words left his mouth before he even thought them through. Serenia studied him, silent. Her eyes glowed faintly brighter. "You are human," she said. "Fragile, small, bound by fear and limits." She stepped closer, her presence almost overwhelming. "Why risk yourself for me?" Daniel swallowed hard. His voice shook, but his words were clear. "Because someone had to." For the first time, Serenia's face softened, just a flicker. A shadow of something almost human. She looked at him like she was seeing more than flesh and bone, like she was weighing his soul. "You do not understand what you have done," she whispered. "But you will." Daniel shifted uneasily. "Then tell me." Serenia took a slow breath. Her hand moved to the torn fabric on her chest. She pulled it aside, revealing the emblem Daniel had glimpsed before. The star crossed by blades, glowing faintly. "This mark is not just a symbol," she said. "It is a title, a curse, and a crown." Her voice grew heavier. "It means I am bound to fight, always until death. It means I cannot run. It means those who know my name will never stop coming." Daniel stared at the emblem. He felt the weight of her words pressing on him. The room seemed smaller, the air thicker. "You are the warrior they call invincible," Daniel said softly. "The one who stood against whole fleets." Her golden eyes locked with his. "And yet," she whispered, "you found me broken, bleeding, dying in the dirt." The truth of it shook him. Legends were supposed to be untouchable, but here she was, saved not by her strength, but by his choice. You saved me, human, Serenia said, so now my life is tied to yours, whether you wish it or not. Daniel's heart skipped. Tied? In my people's law, she said, a life saved is a debt that can never be broken. She stepped closer, her voice quiet but sharp. I am bound to you until that debt is paid. Daniel stared at her, disbelief flooding him. He had not just saved a stranger, he had bound himself to a legend, a warrior who carried the weight of galaxies. The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of her glowing skin. Finally, Serenia looked away, her voice steady. Armies will come, Daniel. They will not stop. They will not forgive, and when they do, you will have to choose. Daniel's breath caught. Choose what? Her golden eyes burned as she answered, to stand with me, or to run. The human's dilemma. The night felt heavier than before. The ruins were silent, yet Daniel could not escape the weight pressing against his chest. Serenia's words echoed inside him. Armies will come, and you must choose. He sat near the broken doorway, his rifle across his lap, staring into the shadows. Every sound made him tense. Every gust of wind felt like a warning, yet the greater storm was not outside, it was inside his mind. She was a legend, a warrior feared across the stars. And now she was bound to him, a human soldier who had lost everything. Why him? Why had fate placed her life in his hands? Serenia sat quietly a few feet away, her golden eyes closed, her body still but alive with faint glowing lines. Even at rest she radiated strength. Daniel felt both comfort and fear in her presence. His heart argued with itself. One side whispered, leave her, save yourself. The other side shouted, you can't, not after saving her. He rubbed his forehead, the confusion tearing at him. He thought of his family, his brother who had died in the first alien raid, his friends, who never came back from the battlefield, all lost to the war between humans and aliens. And here he was, protecting one of them. Maybe even the most dangerous one of all. You're restless. Serenia's voice broke the silence. Daniel looked up, startled. Her eyes were open, glowing faintly in the darkness. You think too much, she said. Her tone was calm but sharp. Your thoughts make more noise than the wind. Daniel gave a bitter laugh. Hard not to think when the galaxy's most feared warrior says she owes me her life. Her expression didn't change. Do you regret it? The question struck deep. He opened his mouth but closed it again. Finally, he whispered, I don't know. Serenia studied him. Her gaze was heavy, as if she could see through him. You fear me, she said. Daniel clenched his fists. Of course I do, he snapped. You killed hunters like they were nothing. You're a legend, unjust. A man with a rifle, his voice dropped. I don't even know why I carried you out of the dirt. You saved me because you are human, Serenia said, her voice softer now. And that is what your kind does. Even in war, you see life before you see death. Her words unsettled him. He looked away, staring at the broken ground. My people would call me a fool, he muttered. Helping the enemy. Am I your enemy? Serenia asked. Her voice carried a quiet challenge. Daniel turned back to her. His heart raced. He wanted to say yes, but the word refused to leave his lips. Instead he whispered, I don't know what you are. Serenia stood slowly, her tall frame casting a long shadow against the wall. She stepped closer, her presence filling the space. I am your debt, she said, and your shield. Her words sent a strange chill through him. A shield? Bound to him because of an old alien law? He did not know if that was protection or a curse. Before he could answer, the ground trembled. A low rumble echoed across the ruins. Daniel's instincts sharpened instantly. He grabbed his rifle. Machines? He asked. Serenia shook her head, her eyes narrowing. Not machines, soldiers. Daniel's stomach twisted. Soldiers meant flesh and blood. Soldiers meant cruelty. Soldiers meant death. He looked at Serenia. Then we run. But Serenia did not move. Her golden eyes burned like fire. No, she said firmly. If we run, they will follow. If we fight, they will fear. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Fight? You're insane. There will be too many. We won't survive. Serenia stepped closer, her gaze steady. You speak like a man who has already died. Her voice hardened. Are you alive, Daniel? Or are you only breathing? The words cut deep. He hated them because they were true. He had been moving through the war like a ghost, surviving without purpose. But now something had changed. He looked at her, at the fire in her eyes. You want me to stand with you, he said quietly. I do not want, Serenia replied. I expect. The silence that followed was heavy. Daniel's hand shook as he gripped his rifle. His mind screamed at him to run, but his heart whispered the same thing it had whispered when he first saw her in the dirt. Don't let go. Finally, Daniel exhaled, his voice steady. Then I'll stand. For the first time, Serenia's expression shifted. A flicker of approval. Her golden eyes softened just enough to show she had heard his choice. Then you are not just a man with a rifle, she said. You are my ally. Daniel felt the weight of her words. Heavier than any weapon. His dilemma had no clear answer. But he had chosen. He would not run, not ever, and in that choice, his fate was sealed. The battle. The ruins shook as the sound of marching boots filled the night. Daniel gripped his rifle tighter, his heart racing. He could see the glow of torches and energy weapons cutting through the dark streets. The soldiers were here, dozens of them, maybe more. Serenia stood tall beside him, her golden eyes burning like fire. Her glowing lines spread brighter across her skin, as if preparing her for war. She was calm, too calm. Daniel felt fear in his bones, but she stood like she had faced death 1,000 times. They know I live, she said quietly. They will not stop until I am ash. Daniel swallowed hard. And me? Her gaze turned to him, steady and sharp. They will cut you down because you stand with me. Daniel felt the weight of her words, but didn't flinch. Then we make them regret it. Serenia's lips curved into the smallest shadow of a smile, spoken like a warrior. The soldiers closed in. Armored figures moving with ruthless precision. Their commander raised a hand, shouting an order in a guttural alien tongue. Daniel couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. Kill them both. Blaster fire lit up the ruins. Daniel dove behind a broken wall, returning fire with sharp bursts. His rifle sparked against enemy shields. He aimed carefully, dropping one soldier with a shot to the throat. Another fell with a bullet to the leg, but there were too many. Then Serenia moved. She stepped into the open as if fear was foreign to her. Light exploded from her body, blinding the soldiers. Her hands cut through the air, sending waves of energy crashing into the enemy line. Soldiers flew backward, their armor cracking like glass. Daniel watched in awe even as he kept firing. Every movement she made was both graceful and deadly. She was not just fighting, she was commanding the battlefield itself. Her strikes broke shields, her light carved paths through steel. But the soldiers were relentless. They regrouped, firing heavy weapons that shook the ground. Explosions tore through the ruins. Daniel was thrown against the wall. His ears ringing, he coughed blood on his lips, yet still forced himself to rise. Serenia stood in the middle of fire and smoke, her body glowing brighter than ever. Each blast that struck her seemed to bend around her, but Daniel saw the strain in her face. The wounds she had carried were not fully healed. She was powerful, but not unbreakable. Daniel's heart pounded. He couldn't let her fight alone. He thought fast. Scanning the battlefield, above them, parts of a collapsed tower leaned dangerously, held by broken beams. If he could bring it down, it might crush half the soldiers. He scrambled through the rubble, ignoring the bullets sparking around him. He planted a charge from his pack against the base of the beams. His fingers shook as he armed it. Then he shouted, "Serenia! Down!" Without hesitation, she leapt back toward him. Her golden eyes met his for a split second. Then the explosion roared. The tower groaned before collapsing. Dust and stone rained down, crushing dozens of soldiers under the weight. The ground shook, screams filled the air. The battlefield turned to chaos. Daniel coughed through the dust, gripping his rifle. Soldiers still advanced through the rubble, fewer but angrier. He raised his weapon, firing until the clip was empty. He reached for another but found nothing left. His ammo was gone. A soldier rushed him with a blade. Daniel barely blocked with the rifle. The force knocked him to the ground. The blade raised high to finish him. And then, in a flash of light, the soldier fell. Serenia stood over him, her hand burning with energy. Her voice thundered through the ruins. No more. Her power erupted like a storm. Light surged from her body, consuming the battlefield. Soldiers screamed as they were thrown into the air. Their weapons shattered. Their armor split. The ruins themselves shook as if the world had bent to her will. Daniel shielded his eyes. The brightness was unbearable. When it finally faded, silence followed. The soldiers were gone, scattered or broken. The battlefield was theirs. Serenia dropped to one knee, her glowing lines dimming. Daniel rushed to her side, his hands gripping her shoulders. "You're hurt," he said. She shook her head slowly. "Not hurt," she whispered. "Only." "Reminded," Daniel frowned. "Reminded of what?" Her golden eyes lifted to his, heavy with unspoken truth, that even legends bleed. He felt the weight of her words. He realized then that she was not untouchable, not unbreakable. She was powerful, yes, but she was also carrying scars deeper than he could see, and yet, even wounded, she had fought like a storm. Daniel stared at her with a mix of fear and respect. He whispered, "You're unstoppable." Serenia's lips curved faintly. "No," she said, "not unstoppable, but with you." Harder to break. Daniel's heart tightened. He knew then that their bond had grown stronger in fire and blood. He had stood beside a legend in battle and survived. But deep inside, he also knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of something far greater. The bond forged the battlefield was silent. Only the faint crackle of broken machines filled the air. The dust from the collapsed tower hung heavy, turning the ruins into a gray mist. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest burning from exhaustion. His rifle was empty, his body bruised, yet his spirit had never felt so alive. Beside him, Serenia stood tall though her strength wavered. Her golden eyes glowed faintly, her body marked with dimming lines of light. She was a legend, yes, but Daniel could see the cost written in her movements, every step. Every breath reminded her that she was not untouchable. Daniel broke the silence first, his voice hoarse. "We survived." Serenia's gaze shifted toward him, sharp yet softer than before. "No," she said, "we endured," her words carried a weight deeper than victory. Daniel felt it settle inside him. The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. He lowered himself onto a broken stone, looking up at the sky. Stars shimmered faintly through the smoke. They looked cold and distant. Yet for the first time in years, Daniel felt like they meant something. "You could have left me behind," Serenia said suddenly. Her tone was not accusing. It was curious, almost thoughtful. Daniel shook his head. "I couldn't," he answered simply. "Not after finding you like that." She studied him, her golden eyes reflecting the faint starlight. "You risked your life," she said. "And for what?" "You knew nothing of me. You could have saved a monster." Daniel met her gaze without flinching. "Maybe," he admitted, "but I saw someone who needed help. That was enough." For a long moment, Serenia was silent. Then she stepped closer, her presence filling the space between them. She looked down at him, her face unreadable. Finally she spoke, her voice lower, steadier. "In my world, debts are eternal. You saved me, so I am bound to you." Daniel shook his head quickly. "I didn't save you for a debt, Serenia. I didn't want anything back." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "But you will have it, human," she said. "Whether you wish it or not, your life is now tied to mine until one of us falls." Her words should have frightened him. Yet Daniel felt no fear. Instead, he felt something different, trust. Fragile but real. He stood slowly, facing her. His voice was quiet but firm. "Then we stand together." For the first time since he met her, Serenya's face softened. Her lips curved into the faintest of smiles. It was not the smile of a warrior, but of someone who had carried loneliness for too long. "You are strange, Daniel," she said. "Strange, but worthy." The silence stretched again, but it no longer felt heavy. It felt like the calm after a storm. Two survivors, bound by chance, standing at the edge of something far greater. Far in the distance, the night trembled. Daniel could hear engines rumbling across the horizon. More enemies, more battles waiting for them. Yet for the first time, he did not feel hopeless. Serenia turned her head toward the sound, her eyes burning once more. "They will come again," she said. And again after that, Daniel reloaded what little ammo he had left, his hands steady. "Then we'll be ready," she looked at him, her golden eyes meeting his. There was no command in her gaze, no test, only recognition. For the first time, she saw him not as a fragile human, but as something else, a warrior who had chosen to stand. And in that moment, a bond was forged, not of law, not of debt, but of choice. Daniel tightened the strap of his rifle and straightened his back. Serenia raised her hand, light flickering faintly across her skin. Together, they turned toward the horizon where danger waited. The war was not over. Their enemies would come, fleets would rise, shadows would hunt, but they would face it together, a human and a legend, standing side by side. And as the stars burned above them, their story had only just begun.